Join us for an immersive experience that redefines leadership through the lens of strategic rest in Greensboro, North Carolina, June 6th through the 8th, 2025. We'll see you there.
Good morning. Good morning. That little dunk. That be turned up over there all the time. I don't know why. Good morning, y'all. Welcome to the Power Nap Live. I am Dr. Erin Wilson, and of course, the co-hostess with the mostest. I like when I like saying that because I feel like it's truly you. So the co-hostess with the mostest. I'm here with the myth, the legend, the icon. The icon, Dr. K, and we're back for another Sunday to get you recharged for the week. And hopefully excited about strategic rest. For those of you who don't know, this show is inspired by our book, Strategic Rest in Leadership. If you have the book, give me a little fire emoji in the comments so that we know you got, oh, there you go. So we know you real, okay? We know you real. And as usual, because strategic rest is what we do, I've got my robe on, okay? Because we here to rest, all right? This may be live, but we here to rest. So I always start off by asking Dr. K.
Trying to get in front of a cold since I've come back from California. It seems like, when you travel around a lot of people, germs, etc. So I've been drinking a lot of vitamin C and Theraflu, trying to get past it or not have it be as extensive as it could be. So other than that, the sun is looking to shine in North Carolina, which is always great during this time of the year. The cold weather needs to move on. So I'm ready for springtime.
Oh, and see, I'm so opposite. I feel rested in the cold. Yeah, because I'm in Texas, and so we don't get tons of cold weather at all. So I'm like literally, I feel like I thrive in the cold, like living my best life. The looks be looking, you know what I'm saying? I be cute in the cold. All right. So no, but I totally get it. I know there are lots of people waiting to get to some good weather.
Y'all had some real cold weather, like below freezing.
Yeah, we did out here. It was so wild too. Like people, I'm sure, like me, like I got coats, if that makes sense, but they're all like fashion coats. They're not functional coats at all. Okay, I got a little faux fur or two. I'll bust out the chinchilla in a minute, okay? Like, I'll be out there like, oh, is that a Chris Cool? I went to an event during the holiday season. I was a judge at the parade here in where I live, and it was probably almost 70 degrees, and I did not care because it was the holidays, and so I busted out my green floor length fur coat because sis was gonna give them a look. Okay, sometimes that's rest. Okay, it's choosing to do what you need to do for yourself, and that's what I felt. Look, the folks in the comments, we got a fellow judge. Oh, Willie, it's so good to see you in the comments today. But Willie was there, and of course, we both served them some good holiday cold looks. Okay, but yes, absolutely.
I like a good temperature for me would be a constant somewhere between 70 to 74. And I remember Googling one time, and the only space that I found that had that consistently was San Diego. And then I looked at like the pricing, the cost of living. I was like, but God, He knows how to give you what you need for the desires of your heart. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. I totally get it. Like I totally get it. I'm trying to think what the perfect weather for me would be. I feel like it would be maybe like 50s. Like
That's
I like a little nip, okay, in the air. I like it to be cold. So I would have to find somewhere like, I just don't think there's anywhere that's like cold year round. Where's cold year round? Like, I don't even know.
great question.
Somebody let me know. If you know in the comments somewhere that's kind of cold year round, doesn't get to more than maybe 70 or so degrees, let me know what that is. But that makes me think about how rest also can be built on location, right? Like can center around you, because even the two of us, like we wrote a concept and a framework around rest, but as you can see, our concepts of even places to be that kind of allow us to feel rested are different. And so I just find that so fascinating, especially as so this week we'll get the opportunity to talk with some large executive groups, right, about the NAP framework and kind of what strategic rest looks like for them. And so I kind of have been thinking about the concept that you talked about quite often, is how rest is kind of on a spectrum. Right? Like, and that there's different spaces that people and different things that people may experience as rest that others don't. So my question for you is, what's something that you experience as rest that other people may not?
Oh, that's probably everything. I feel like I'm just so a unicorn in so many spaces and places in my life, because I look at things from a context of all the small pieces of it rather than what I'm seeing, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes, like for example, I was just in Long Beach for a conference, and that was rest for me, but folks around me saw that as work. And for me, it was like, it's rest. I'm gonna go to the pier, look at the water, which I talked about last week. And I'm not going to every session. I'm going to restaurants that I would not be able to go to in North Carolina. Like, that's rest to me. And just being in the moment and being in the space, right? Yesterday, I had the opportunity to be a vendor. Shout out to the so everyone knows or don't know, I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and within our sorority we have auxiliary groups, and one of the auxiliary groups is our Zeta Amica, or our friends of Zeta, who are women in the community that want to do the work, but don't have at least a bachelor's degree, right? And so I found rest in them, right? And being with them in so many different spaces through leading workshops, etc. And yesterday, shout out to the Zeta Mika of Greensboro, hosted a R&B and color event. And so it is similar to the sip and paint, but instead of painting, we did coloring pages, right? And I served as a vendor where I brought my two latest books, and did some book signing. And we just had music, food, refreshments. They had a cash bar. People were around the tables, coloring, talking, and just being in that space was rest for me. Like, I didn't think about anything else that was going on outside of those doors. It was just in that moment. And just the way that they love on me and support me is refreshing to me, right? We talk in the book about rest being attached to safety, and how we talked about our grandmothers. And as I was, coming back home, I was thinking about, I felt her in that space because of the interactions people were having with me. It made me remember her even more, and how she would respond to me when I was in a space, right? And so, it's just a refreshing opportunity to be with people that allow you to feel safe so that you can be rested. And so me, it's more about the spaces rather than the places where I find rest.
It's more about the spaces than the places that you find rest. That's a word right there. I mean, listen, because that's absolutely the case. And we talk about that in the framework, right? So literally nurture is not just about the spaces, but not just about the places that you find rest, but also the spaces. And in that, who is a part of your rest community, right? Sometimes it's just a few people, sometimes it's one person. This week for me, which he's literally on live because I see him in the comments this week, or this past week, a good friend of mine got me to go to a restaurant for lunch, like in the middle of the day. And I'm always doing work, I'm always doing different things. But of course, as I'm committed to strategically resting and really always calling myself to the carpet. Because here's the thing, even though we wrote how to do it, we still have to actively practice it ourselves, which is why we wrote it, right? Really as a reminder for us. But then we decided to share it with other people. So anyway, we decided to go to lunch, just something super quick. And a time was had. I was just so intentional about like us laughing and talking. We'd even, of course, got our the waitress who was there with us. She was like, I want to sit down with y'all. We were like, please, come on, girl, sit on down. You're welcome.
Your job, though.
I was like, wait, go get some of them, some more of them apps. So listen, I don't know about the folks. Okay, listen, I go to a good Cheesecake Factory. Okay, that's where we went. We were at Cheesecake Factory, and they had a special menu out, and I, of course, ordered something off the menu. And so even in that, we got the opportunity to do a couple things. Right, our rest inspired her. That was the first thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Our rest, our choosing to rest in the middle of the day in a restaurant, looking moisturized and not thirsty,
Right.
Okay, inspired her. And that's what she kept coming to our table saying, you guys, I want to experience this with other people. That was the first thing, right? The second piece, our experience also allowed for us to call out the good in other people. So this was actually the first day that they had that special menu. So they had been, kind of anxious to see how people were enjoying them. So one of the things that I got there, it was the first time that they had served it, right? And it was so good that I was like, please go back there and tell whoever made that, okay, that I'm glad that they're doing what they're doing, but whatever the next step is for them, they need to do that. So we got to also, through rest, speak into some other people's lives, right?
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, I also told her at the end to call over her supervisor, right? And for folks, when you've been in a restaurant, I would imagine, I have never been a manager of a restaurant, right? But I have, of course, worked in some hospitality experiences or spaces. And when you're getting called over, more likely than not, it's for something wild, right? Like something went wrong, something wasn't great. So I really like to take the time to call over supervisors of people that have provided phenomenal service and go, I need you to know this person was amazing. So we got the opportunity to do that. And of course, meet, her manager, who of course like spoke into her saying, we just got her and she's been phenomenal. And so here's the thing. I say all that to say that when you rest, when you strategically rest, you inspire people.
Yes.
When you strategically rest, it literally places you in a space to be able to call out good things about other people.
Yeah.
And it also makes you grateful.
Yeah, because who's being inspired by someone who's what they call a Debbie Down all the time, but always uptight.
Yeah. Yes, or constantly frazzled, constantly in shambles. I'm not. Yeah. When I see someone that looks like, I say this, well, a good friend of mine, and I say this, but that we want to live in the glory, right? The glory of God. Like we want to really lean fully into that. We talk about, of course, as we get older, that's what we want to do. So by the time we're much older, we just look like we've leaned into the glory of God. So to me, those people, no matter what your beliefs are, people who look rested are inspirational.
Yeah.
To me, people who don't, they're not inspirational to me.
Yeah, which it makes me think of times when I've heard people say, what, why people don't reach out to me to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm like,
Mm.
have you looked at yourself? Like you walk into a room as though you've already know it ain't gonna be good. You talk as though you got a million things going on. Like at what point do we turn the mirror on us and say, hey, if I walked in a space, would you want me to come present or do X, Y, and Z? And
Mhm.
oftentimes, and I'm very cognitive of that when I go places, even if I have a million things going on in my life, that if an opportunity serves itself, that I present that face. But if I don't want an opportunity, then you're gonna see the face of, yeah, I really don't want this opportunity, but you want to give it to me, right? So I begin to think about how we position ourselves for opportunities to inspire when we look inspiring, right? And it's a
Ooh.
way to look inspiring without masking all the things that you're going through, right?
Mm.
There's a piece of vulnerability in that, right? So
Mhm.
I can, like right now, I'm not feeling my best, physically in terms of being sick, etc. But there's a way that I can use that while walking into a space to be fully rested and inspire others. And I
Yes.
think that comes with growth, that comes with self-awareness, uh,
Yes.
that comes with understanding. And I've said this a lot the past couple of days, that my no is firm. Uh,
Wait. You're not gonna just you're not just gonna fly past that. You said, I'm sorry, your no is firm?
Very firm.
It's
Yeah,
giving tofu.
yeah, it's firm because I always speak to, I'm only doing things that bring me joy, and a no is sometimes, oftentimes, a yes to yourself.
Ooh.
And so my no is firm. And so when you think about people that are always badgering you to buy or get this, and if I say no the first time and you still going at it, I'm more likely not going to do it. Like my no is firm. That's it. Now, if I say, hey, let me give me more information, let me think about it, then that's an opportunity for something
Yes.
to happen. But the
Yes.
moment I say no, that's a period on that. The chapter
Yeah.
has closed, the book has closed, right? It's out of print. It's not happening.
You said delete. Okay.
Like that's it, right? uh
Wow.
and so rest gives you the opportunity to have that clarity about yourself and how you want to show up for other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
But as you were talking, I saw Willie have put a sweet magnolia experience, and that's exactly like we've been talking about it, bits and pieces.
Yeah.
And I'm rewatching all of the series up until season 4, and so I know that you have recently just finished it. But that's what it is an
Yeah.
experience to be fully you, vulnerable with people that give you or make you feel safe, and you can just be. And that's a
Yeah.
sense of rest. And when you do that, oh, the inspiration that can come out of that, whether it's to each other or, like you said, to people around you or people who have yet to be around you, what that can lend to. And that's exactly what those women always did. They always
Yeah.
showed up for each other in a space, whether they were for each other or not, upset, whatever the case may be. But in the conversation over margaritas and tacos or whatever they was eating at the time, they
Yes.
inspired each other in a way that either led to, hey, we're going to get this mayor out of his office, or we're going to go do X, Y, and Z for this group of people, or we're going to build this community foundation. Like everything came from that space of being together and resting in each other's presence for safety. And
Yeah.
so that's what one I love about that show, but even
Yeah.
about what we've done to kind of take elements of that without knowing we were, and placing it in a book for a framework for people to actually practice in real time.
Absolutely. First of all, the comments were pop locking and dropping while you were talking. That we've got lots of people up there going, "Amen." Katrina Carpenter is in she's watching live today, and I'm sending tons of love out to you. Just please know. But yes, she said, "Come on, restorative space." Exactly that. Like, to me, we were watching fictional characters rest and we were inspired.
Yeah.
Lots of people were inspired by that, but not just watching them and being inspired about creating restorative spaces, even when things aren't going well. To me, that's the high level. That's the high level of the NAP framework, right? That's why it's created, because we know life is not perfect.
Right.
Right? Life is chaotic. To me, it's not can be. Every moment, there's always so many things that are competing for your attention, competing for your mind, like literally space in your mind. Things won't go right. Even though we always hope that they do. And so really leaning in and locking into the NAP framework and really the principle of strategic rest is,
Right.
to me, what allows us to have some cushioning in those moments when life feels like it's just too much, right? But it requires us to practice strategic rest when things are better, so that we start to so we have that muscle memory when
Yeah.
things are not going well, right? Imagine what your life could be like when it's not just something that you have to force yourself to do around strategic rest, but it becomes natural.
Yeah.
There's this activity that when I'm talking about, so a lot of the training that I do in my consulting firm is around strength-based, like, leadership, right? What are the things that you uniquely bring to the table that you can build your career, your life, your friendships and relationships on, right? And one of the activities that I often do with people, so that they can really, like, understand the difference between something that is natural to you and something that's unnatural, is I usually have people write their signature, right? Like, a few times on a piece of paper. They write it and people are like, okay, like, that was easy. Why are we doing this? And then I make them switch hands. Right. And literally, before people even start to write the second one, they're complaining, they're rolling their eyes, they're talking about how bad it's going to be. And then I have them do it. Right. And of course, it turns out horribly. And we talk about how the first one was natural because it just
Yeah.
came to you. Imagine what you can build. Imagine the inspiration you can provide as a leader when strategic rest comes naturally to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And the company you keep.
Oh, and stop.
Yeah.
So imagine the impact you can have when strategic rest comes naturally to you and the company you keep.
Yeah. You know, which I
Ooh,
wasn't going to speak on it, but I published another book about 2 weeks
yes.
ago with Dr. Danielle Green and Chris Ray, president of Barber Scotia College and international president of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. And Dr. Green serves as international director for training and development for Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. And we published a book. It was published February 10th. And a part of me sat down in my home and said, I have a lot of accomplishments that have been just going whoo, whoo, whoo in the last couple of months. And I wonder how people perceive it.
Mm.
And a part of me was like, do people perceive it as I'm doing too much, or when do I have time? Like all of these things. And then something hit me as I began to advertise for both books, our book and then that one, and then other things I have going on,
Yeah.
and getting messages of, you know what, I went and did X, Y, Z because of I saw you do this. it was the inspiration messages that came, and then it became, oh gosh. And then I saw one of my sorors who, Dr. Nelson, shout out to her. She has a book coming out. And of course, comment in chat, congratulations. And her response is, you're an inspiration, keep inspiring, right?
Mm.
And I think about all the conversations I've had with people behind closed doors to help them get to the dreams that they
Yeah.
want, and saying that I'm always be here, whatever that looks like for you.
Yes.
Um, and so even in a moment of my quote unquote fame or whatever you call, I do it because of the company that I keep.
Mm.
Because if I'm not operating in my purpose of rest, and through rest finding clarity of, oh, well, now let's go write this book or go do this, the company I keep won't see that to help them fuel their dreams and aspirations, right? Because we're
Yes.
all connected together,
Yes.
right? For me,
Yes.
it's not about the table, it's about the building, it's about the land, it's about the parking lot, it's about everything else but the table.
Mm.
And God just reminded me to keep doing it.
Mm.
Because oftentimes I would shrink and limit my ability to do because I don't want people to perceive it in certain ways. And I sit back and I think, because God will snatch you up real quick and be like, really though? I'm like, you're right, let me keep doing this.
Listen, I just told someone yesterday, these folks out here getting swallowed up by fish. I'm gonna go to where I'm supposed to be because he's still out here doing Jonah experience.
Yes.
And I don't want no part of that. Okay. And I can swim. All right. I
Yeah.
can really swim, but I do not want to get swallowed up by no fish. Okay. So whatever you say, I got you. I'm gonna do what you asking me to do
Yeah.
because that's not a joke at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And yesterday, at the event, when I was signing books, some of the Zeta Mika, I call them my sisters, right? So my
Yes.
sisters came up to the table, and naturally I'm like, thank you for your support. And they just, a couple of them just was like, every time, every time you do something, we're gonna show up for you. And
Oh,
that in itself was just like,
wow.
yes,
Wow.
this is the company that keeps me rested,
Yes.
right? And then hearing them still speak on some of the things, like when I did workshops and just the community, like, the biggest piece, it doesn't feel forced for them to say it. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't sound fake when they say it, and it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
sound like they're reaching for something when they say it.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what makes it so powerful for me, because I've been
Yes.
in spaces with people that will acknowledge my accomplishments, but when they respond, it feels forced, it
Mm.
feels fake, it feels like a
Mm.
hint of jealousy, it feels
Mhm.
all of this, and I have none of that towards them, right? But
Yeah.
I feel that energy, and so I'm just mindful of how rest puts us in a space to distinguish the two, and then
Mhm.
choose to be in the space with these folks that keep me rested, and not with
Yeah.
the folks that unintentionally and sometimes intentionally keep me unrested. Because when I'm
Mm.
unrested, I don't work in my full potential.
Ooh, when I'm unrested, I don't work in my full potential. That's the thing. In communities, when we tell people we wrote this framework, and that's why we also, not just the framework for you to personally rest, but also for people in your community,
Yeah,
right? To be a part of that rest that you're having. I have a really good friend this week. She had some stuff going on that required her to be home, right, like after a surgery that she had. And this week in her rest, even though she was resting, she still sent me strategy for my business.
yeah,
Multiple text messages talking about, listen, you need to be talking to this person, you need to be doing this, you need to be. So if your community is not people who are advocating, number one, for you to be rested, but also to be at your best, that
hmm,
they don't champion the amazing things that you are doing and also that you are pouring back into them,
yeah,
then that's where some work has to be done,
yeah,
right? Because when strategic rest is done, I don't want to say right. I hate to say right and wrong. When you are practicing strategic rest, then it can't help but ripple out to the people around you.
Yeah.
You can't help but make the impact that you want to make. And even beyond that, impact that you didn't even know you could make or even thought about making. People who may never even get to speak to you to say thank you, when they see you living like that, they are inspired to be better, to treat themselves better, right? Which ultimately ripples out to more people being able to do what they're called to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know we're at almost that time. But I want to go back to something you said in terms of a continuum of this idea of strategic rest, and part of the framework that we're working on with that. And I just want to give the components of that continuum: awareness and reflection, short-term rest, moderate rest, long-term rest, personal boundaries, and continuous learning. And that's just for individuals. And as stated, we also do the space for communities or teams. It's the same different elements, but instead of the personal boundaries, there's cultural boundaries. And so that's part of the continuum of what it means to be in strategic rest. And so looking forward to welcoming you to North Carolina this week to talk about this with a group of folks, and excited to be in the same space together and just do the work that we didn't know we were going to do when we first met, but we're here.
I'm just grateful to be, the folks say booked and busy, but I'm not. I'm grateful to be booked and strategically rested. Okay.
Booked and blessed. I know that's
booked and blessed and strategically rest.
Yes. I love it.
Booked and blessed and experiencing strategic rest, baby. So listen, on that, we are out of here, y'all. I cannot believe that 30 minutes flew by incredibly fast, but you know where to find us. Next Sunday, we'll be here 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, to bring to you, of course, a Power Nap Live. Thank you for everyone that's been here. We saw you in the chat. We love y'all. We love you. Hey, we cannot leave without reminding you that if you're not sure what your community is, or you even know what your community, but you still want to strategically rest with us, we have got the Strategic Rest Summit coming up June 6th through 8th. Get your tickets. Some information just after we end the stream will pop up so that you can get to the website. But it is the Strategic Rest, because we are the strategicrest.com. We cannot wait to see you in the building, and we'll see you next Sunday. Take care, make good decisions, and strategically rest. Yes. Bye.
Join us for an immersive experience that redefines leadership through the lens of strategic rest in Greensboro, North Carolina, June 6th through the 8th, 2025. We'll see you there.